Welcome back to For the Love of Dance. I'm with Lauren Mangano. Oh my gosh, she's a studio owner, and we've known each other for I don't even know how long.
I'm gonna say like at least 15 years. At
Yeah,
least
yeah.
we were babies.
We were definitely young 20-year-olds. I just aged us. We met judging at a dance competition, and then we fell in friendship love.
In love, inseparable for years.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
It was awesome. So you own a studio.
I do.
How old is your studio now?
This is year 13.
Wow, that's
I
so
know.
wow. Okay, yeah, so we've definitely been friends for more than 13 years.
Yeah, yep.
Wow, that
And
went fast.
I know. Last year it was like COVID, so I kind of don't count year 12, but I do. So like 12 and a half years old, maybe, I guess, because we were closed for half a year because of COVID. But
It'd be funny if year 13 was COVID year.
uh, I want COVID to go away.
I mean, of course, everyone does. I'm not, I'm just thinking numerically. So what made you open your studio?
Oh, so I was teaching at a lot of studios, like four,
Hmm.
and I had a day job too.
And I,
And I love teaching, but I just kind of felt that I didn't have creative freedom to do what I wanted. I had all these ideas, and I always thought that I was leader and wanted to work for myself. So yeah, I opened Elite in 2018. I think if that math adds up, either 17 or 18. I don't do math. I
it
know you
couldn't
don't
be.
do math.
It wouldn't be because 18 would make it 3 years old. You mean 2008?
Yep.
She can only count to eight, folks.
Where's that sound effect?
It's okay. She's a great business owner. Hopefully, she doesn't do her books. Somebody else, I'm sure, does the books.
I'm a mom too. I'm so tired, but it's okay. It's good.
So, like
uh,
2007, 2008.
yeah, that. Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I wanted to go dance professionally, but I had family. My mom ended up getting really sick, and so once she got diagnosed, I just kind of stayed home, and that's why I was around the area, and I was like, I just don't feel fulfilled
And I
teaching for
think
other
a lot of
people.
people wanted, like, for example, I remember the thought process of like wanting to be a professional dancer and then you realizing, like, it can't happen for me right now. And then you decided to start a business in dance because you still have so much passion for dance. And I don't think that I think that some people, or maybe you even felt this way back in the day, of like, if I own a studio, it's not as good as being a professional dancer. But I don't think that's true at all.
No, I think back in the day,
Yeah, I'm talking back in 2007,
yeah,
not 18.
it definitely was like you either left your studio and you moved to like New York, LA.
Mhm.
That was the thing. Or you went to college and then you auditioned while you were in college, but you're not allowed to take a job. If you're a dance major in college, like you are committed to the program. And that was me. So I waited until I graduated, and then it was like I thought it was my time. And when I first opened the studio, yeah, people kind of like looked at you like, oh, you teach children? That's so cute. But they don't really realize, or I don't think back then they really realized how important we are to the dance industry and to like these children.
Yeah.
We're molding and shaping these kids.
And I think that studio life is so much different than back in the day. Like, I've interviewed people on this podcast who were street dancers who now are famous dancers or like dance for famous people, but they never
Mhm.
went to a studio for a long time.
Right.
And then there's other people who started in studios. And I think nowadays you have to start in a studio.
I
Um,
mean, you want to be well rounded, but I mean, it doesn't have to be if you have that passion and that drive. I mean, there are dancers who started at age like 13,
That's
you
what,
know?
yeah, you can start at any age. I'm not saying like, and
Yeah.
also there's different levels of what you want to do with dance. And you have some kids that have become professional dancers. Like, you have a ton of kids that have done that.
Yeah, I'm so proud of them. I mean, I'm proud of all of them because you don't have like 95% that go through the studio are not going to be professional dancers, but the ones that have, yeah, they've danced all over the world. We have Broadway, TV. Um, they're just waiting for the auditions to open back up so they can start killing it again. But yeah, I'm so proud of each and every one of them because they've kind of just stayed true to who they are and like use that work ethic to be successful. So
And that's also like, how would you describe dance to a parent who doesn't want their kid to be a dancer? But I think that there's so much discipline in dance that it like trains them for other things.
100%. Um, I don't want to say that all those naturally talented kids that walk through the door, they're not necessarily the ones that are going to be the professional dancers.
I agree.
It's those kids with the grit and the will and the drive and that discipline to be, committed to their team first and foremost, because it's not, very rarely is any dancer going to graduate and be a soloist on stage. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be part of an ensemble, you're going to be part of a team. So I think teamwork comes a huge role into the grand scheme of things. And then it's going to teach them how to be responsible, how to balance their homework, how to balance their personal life, how to learn how to put themselves out there, learn how to speak for themselves. Like, if you go into an audition, you need to be able to slate your name and have confidence and poise. There's so many layers to what a dance program is or a dance studio is.
And so like okay, I also think, and my brain just stopped working because it's 9 a.m. My time. But like, no, I love it. I'm already up. My brain isn't. I'm usually walking around. So like, it definitely teaches them all of those things, but I also think that it teaches them like how to be safe. For example, if I didn't have dance 5 or 6 days a week, there were kids that were doing bad things at my school that I didn't do because I didn't have time to do it.
Right. Literally, even with like the girls and dating, I'm like, dance is your boyfriend or your girlfriend, like dance is what you're committed to right now. You don't have time to go out and kind of get in trouble the way that, not that every high school student does, but
No.
it gives them a focus and a drive.
Yeah, it makes you busy,
Yeah.
which is great.
Busy.
Now, your studio is also a competitive studio, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the competition world now versus back in the day?
Ooh. Back in the day, like when we were competing back in the day, or back, like, I feel like there are phases of this. So
Okay, let's go through the phases because there's a lot of people
back
who
in the
listen
day.
who don't know all of the phases even.
Okay, so we were 90s comp kids,
Mhm.
so it was just a handful of competitions that you would enter into. And it was first, second, third, and honorable mention. And if you got honorable mention, like myself, you were proud of yourself because you were up against, these talented dancers, but it's not like they gave that recognition to everybody. Um, and it wasn't so, how do I want to say it? It wasn't like the end all be all that I think the dance world is right now on social media.
Okay.
Like, you went to your dance competitions, you went back home respectfully, you kept training, and you did it again.
Yeah, I grew up in Canada, obviously, for those who are been listening. In Canada, I would be against like 14 people in my age category for a tap solo. And that's just your category. Also, Canada used to do where you had to sit and watch everyone you were up against. You weren't allowed to go out and be free. They roped off 2 lines and you had to sit there next to the girl who just went and just like sit there. And then they'd be like, is that the same cut? Like, you ended up becoming friends with them because you were so used to it. But also it forced you to see why that person beat you or didn't beat you, because you couldn't just be like, a lot of people don't watch the people they're up against. They just throw their arms up in the air.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that. Also, teachers in Canada were not allowed backstage. So it would be like, if you couldn't handle getting yourself on stage by yourself, then you weren't old enough to compete. Now, there were people who were back there who were backstage managers who it was like, because I competed at 5, who I remember them like standing me in the wing. You stayed in a line really quietly backstage, and then they were like, okay, you're next. And you stood in the wing, and then you went out. Yeah, 100% discipline. And it was great. And then you used to get these big hanging medals for second, third. And then my mom would immediately make me take mine off because I used to win because I'm so good. No, she used to make me take my hanging medal off if I won like top 3 in the thing because she said not everybody on my team won.
Aw.
I was so upset as a kid because I wanted to be like, look at my shiny thing.
Yeah, it's different now. It's I think social media plays a huge part into like the convention and competition world now.
Hmm.
Like even when I first opened the studio, it was fun and we loved it, and it was a way to like, better ourselves and see other studios and compete, because obviously I don't know one studio that's like incredible when they first open. Like you grow. So for us, we were just kind of doe-eyed and like, oh, okay, so we're going to compete against this studio, we're going to learn and be inspired by. Now it's amazing what kids are able to physically accomplish, honestly, because I didn't dance like that, you didn't dance like, nobody dances like that anymore.
No,
Well,
when I won, it was like with a double or triple pirouette,
yeah,
and everyone was like,
like
"What?"
that was the
And that
the
was
thing.
in tap
Like if
shoes.
you could hit a clean double, okay, triple, quad, forget it, you win. Back in the day, but now like what kids are accomplishing is pretty crazy, and I do think that there needs to be a little bit more of a balance.
They're athletic, and this is only in America because I will say in Canada, it's less tricky than in America as to
Mhm.
what you see in a dancer. And I can't speak internationally because I haven't watched current dancers in like Australia or things like that. But I do know that country to country, it does vary. But in America, it's still pretty trick heavy for the
Trick.
most part.
It's the flash,
If
because
you
then you
want to
get
be
the 30-second
competitive,
video
a
on
competitive
Instagram.
dancer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do think that there is a little shift happening, and by it's little, but I do think that there's a little shift happening, and people are kind of going back to their roots.
Artistry
As
is coming back.
it is,
Hmm.
and dance history is coming back. Like people are, I see more and more jazz and musical theater,
Hmm.
which that was kind of lost for a while, and people are going back to the roots of lyrical. That's my favorite,
I love it.
because it still is very contemporary, but and it's beautiful. Contemporary is beautiful, but you see a little bit more, jazz musical theater. We need tap to come back.
It is back in certain states, but I do have a question for you because I've asked this to other people. What do you think? And there's no right or wrong answer. Maybe there is a right answer, but it's always different, so I don't think that there is. What do you think the difference between lyrical and contemporary is?
Oh, good question. Well, the accompaniment of the music, first and foremost. Lyrical is usually to a power ballad or just a very pretty story,
Mhm.
a little bit more lighthearted than contemporary. I find contemporary to be a little bit more angsty or soul searching, if you will. And I think it's a little bit more of a fusion of modern in choreography
Mhm.
as far as contemporary goes, where, oh, you want to know what? More of a fusion of modern and hip hop, because there's a lot of really great musicality in contemporary.
Mhm.
And I think ballet is just the clean roots of like, I'm sorry, lyrical is the clean roots of ballet, and simple jazz maybe put together where it derived from.
I agree. I think all the styles are kind of merging together a little bit.
Yeah,
So like, cause there's some like jazz dances that I'm like, oh, this is a slow song.
yeah, yeah.
This-
People are thinking way more outside the box now, which is so great.
yeah,
You know,
it's fun to watch.
yeah,
Cool. I always like thought I was like contemporary is flex feet and sharp lines, and lyrical is sad reaching forward and pulling it in and crying.
mhm. The eyebrow raised.
Yeah, 100%. Um, okay, so you opened the studio, and the flex of competition started with there was not as many. And this is before you owned the studio, not as many competitions to go to, and it
Correct,
was not your life if like you weren't devastated if you didn't win in your
correct,
category.
correct.
Whereas then the next phase of competition was there was a lot more competition, and then it became um, no participation medals, and it was just like whatever your score was your placement, correct?
Correct. Correct. And that's when social media started uh, to creep in. Do you know what I mean? Like MySpace and then Facebook. And like, so people were able to see other things. I remember Am I allowed to like talk about specific
Any,
competitions?
yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I think that competition Hall of Fame, they started the whole like viral dance thing,
Mhm.
you know, because you had to make the Hall of Fame, and then they would post your dance on their website, and then people would go to that website to see the dances. Not that they created social media, but I think
They
I
utilized it, which I didn't know. That's so cool.
yeah, I distinctly remember being like, you know, going back because we did Hall of Fame when we first started, um, and just seeing who was winning around the country and like seeing what other states were bringing to the table. It was so intriguing, you know.
And for like national purposes, you can see what you're up against before you get there. Because it used
I
to
don't
be that
think I
now.
got that psychotic until or educated. Do you know what I mean? Like now you can creep on anybody and anything, but back then I was just like, ooh, you know, I didn't think to use it as a means of research.
Well, like my mom was always the type of mom. My mom was a dance mom. She would have the program and she would write down everybody's scores in my category, and she would take personal notes, not as a like just as a mom of like why she thought this girl had a chance of like beating me or like whatever. And then she would take that book out the next year and be like, okay, so Candace is gonna be here again. And just so you know, last year, and I would be like, what? I was not a serious competitive kid at all. I was serious in that I worked really hard in class, but I also didn't care if I won. Like I would laugh. My sister was very like, she stretched every day. And I was like, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Flap, I'll change. Like,
Maybe add in one of these.
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting because like I wonder what my mom would be like now with the ability to pull up a video
Yeah.
and
Well,
be.
my dad, he's like a fine balance of, he's like a little in between. Like my mom was just in the audience, like, oh my God, you did so good. And I could fall and she'd be like, yay. Like she just was so proud always. My dad was the one, he did. He takes notes. He still comes to the recital and he'll write like, really love this choreography. Um, you know, the stance could have been whatever. Like he
I love it.
still, I'm like, Dad, it's a recital, calm down. He doesn't go to the competitions anymore. But yeah.
That's how my
So
mom, and my mom was positive. She wasn't like a, I wouldn't say my mom was a stage mom. She wasn't like a, what today's stage mom is. Like, she wasn't like
that's
forcing me to dance or like anything really mean.
yeah.
She just was like, if I'm spending all this money, because dance is not cheap, I want you to have, like, try to be like a coach, I guess you could say.
He was trying to help with the logistics.
Yeah, just like, and to her, it totally helped me. I became like a dancer, so it wasn't a bad thing. Uh, it worked. Yeah, and then everyone became a winner, right? And then we got into that world, and I think, and this could be my opinion of it at 9 a.m. When Dance Moms came out,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know that they edited it so that they looked like they won. Like a lot of times when you saw that they won, they only won in their category. They didn't win first place overall the whole thing, but it felt like they did. So everyone was like, this is the bar.
Right. Yeah. I distinctly remember watching the first episode and I remember the period. Oh my God. The pyramid thing. And I was shocked. I was like, what is this? But then I was like, it's TV. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just remember like watching. I watched like the first season because I just couldn't look away. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's like spiraling. It was too
I
much.
mean, yeah, it was definitely a TV produced show, but I think like people were watching it not realizing that they, like, people who weren't dancers or didn't know that it was like made up,
Right.
like that it was, you know, storylines. Yes, those kids had to do all those tricks. Yes, those kids had to like physically learn all of those things. So there was definitely like, I think that it made her studio, it really made those kids a lot better because they had opportunities to learn from choreographers from all over the world, which they didn't have necessarily. I mean, I know they had some, because I know some kids who went to that studio that are my age who are amazing, phenomenal dancers. She was a good teacher. But like, I just remember when that show came out being like, oh, it looks like they won when they didn't. And because people were there and knew that they didn't win, this other studio actually beat them. And they were kind of like, that studio would get mad because they would be like, our dance beat them, but on TV it doesn't look like we did.
Yeah.
And
You
then
can't take away from the hard work that the kids did, and even the teachers. Like you can clearly tell that they were dance teachers that were invested in their kids. It's just the way it was perceived and edited. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I feel like now sometimes parents post about their kids winning in that same respect, where it feels like that kid, and I don't know if I care, like like I'm not a mom, like I wouldn't be upset, you are a mom, if your child is just learning how to tap tap tap, so but like let's say she wins first or platinum or whatever, it sounds so amazing,
Yeah.
and yet there's still things in some competitions that are higher. Like they changed the wording of what winning was.
Right.
Because it used to be gold, silver, bronze, like the Olympics.
Correct.
And now each competition is so different.
Yeah. We have pearls. We have
Pearls?
I don't know. Like there's just like it's very creative. It's very creative. But I do have to say, like with competition, because my studio is pretty balanced. Like we have a really great rec program and we have a really great company, but it just I don't know if it's just this year coming out of COVID or like just years leading up to it. Like I just love watching my kids on stage and they just love being on stage. And it for them, kids their age, that's their outlet. That is their shining moment. They don't have any other places to perform like that. So with the awards aside, because I always tell them the trophies are the icing on the cake. Do you know what I mean? The who doesn't want confetti in the big 12-foot tall trophy? Like that is an amazing accomplishment that should be celebrated. But like let's talk about how did you get here? Like let's look at your work ethic this year. Look at your teamwork this year. It's just we're going out for the first time Thursday this week, and haven't been on stage for over a year, and I'm so excited to see.
It's just breathtaking that kids can dance again on stage, and I know that you can see their passion as well. And I think competitions are a really good thing. Like I do not regret competing as a kid. I think that they're very helpful. I also think now, because we used to judge together back when you had to write. You know what I mean? Like these kids are learning so much more because it's live commentary.
Right.
It's like a sport, like a literal watching a football game, which I've never done. But it's like where they shout at those guys, like, he took a left when he should have taken a right. Again, don't watch sports. But you can get that in dance, you know what I mean? And I also think it's great for studios. If you're a new studio now and you start competing with your kids, you're going to learn how to fix those things through those judges. You know what I mean? Like if you go to those competitions with the qualified judges, they're going to tell you like, here is an exercise I do across the floor to fix this, passe issue or whatever. And I think that that's so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes people forget that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the critiques.
Right. And I just wish that there was a little bit of a balance of um, recognizing that your home studio, no matter who it is good for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want the kids to realize that you're still kids and you have the whole rest of your life to dance professionally. If something comes along and they're casting for Disney or, this new Broadway show and they need kids your age, then like, absolutely train to be that ability to accomplish that at a very young age. I know that you started when you were
young, I started touring when I was 10. I was a crazy kid.
Yeah. But it's great. Not everybody has that opportunity, but I feel like people may be entering competitions and conventions just to seek to like get up on the stage or get the scholarship and this and that. And it's like, just recognize that you are where you need to be within your studio right now, and that nothing can take away the studio education,
Yeah. And what do you think about, okay, so there are some parents who go to competition and they see another studio and they're like, I'm switching my kid to this studio now. And then they keep doing that. I understand as a parent, you wanting your kid to have the best
education.
Right. But also there is something to be said about like each teacher is teaching you something specific for your level where you're at.
Yeah. I think do your research. Like for parents, they usually enroll you in like the closest studio to their house because of, convenience. And it's just cute when they first put on their tutu or their, whoever you are, whatever you're enrolling in. It's just a cute little right that little girls and little boys, they go to dance class or they go to gymnastics class, and they don't think about doing the research for, oh, is this facility an establishment where they can grow through the program, you know? So then if it's more of a non-recreational studio and they want more competitive, then I would 100% understand why they would switch studios, you know, if there's a need and that business isn't providing it for them, then obviously. But to switch studios just because this Susie Q over here is winning and Dolly over here isn't, like, that's not a healthy mindset, I don't think, you know. Are the faculty members educated and giving everybody attention that they need in order to grow, you know? Like, look at the big scale of things, because it's so quick to just take what you have for granted, and then just the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. Is that what they say?
Yeah. At that fence. Switching out of competition mode, recreationally, right? So you have owned the studio for 3 years. No, I'm kidding. We'll just keep changing the number. Whatever the recital T-shirt says, that's how long. And that's even a whole nother thing too. Studios having to get like studio T-shirts and swag, and like they have like their own store now.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Because when I was growing up, you had a team jacket and maybe a T-shirt, and that was it.
Yeah, everything's evolved so much, but it's great. Like, who doesn't want their kids to go to school with an elite backpack on? Like, you know, that's team pride in advertising. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I'm not against it.
Of.
It's a whole nother level of work, though, for the owner.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so you open this studio, and obviously when you open something, you have to take everybody, right? There's a lot of like what were some of, if I was a person listening to this podcast right now and I was like, oh, I want to open a studio, what are some of the things that you learned along the way that are like, oh, I wish someone had told me that?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. How much time do we have?
As much as you want. It's a podcast.
The first thing that I would tell a new studio owner is to put your head down and work hard. Do as much as you possibly can so that you can learn all facets of the side of the business. Because when I first opened, I was a dancer and I was a teacher and I wanted to teach dance. I didn't know what QuickBooks was. I didn't know that you had to pay royalties and fees for playing music in your classroom. Like, I was blindsided, but I didn't know how high the bars were supposed to be on the wall. Like, I didn't know, you know, so it's definitely a learning curve to learn the business side of it. I think the second thing would be, you are only going to be as strong as your team. I, over the past 13 years, have had, you know, different faculty members working at the studio, and some are still with me, and then some have gone different ways. But your team is so important. They have to believe in your brand. They have to believe in you know, your work ethic. You're nothing without your team. So I'm very, very lucky to have a fantastic team of teachers and office manager.
And in the beginning, you're teaching the majority of your classes because you can't afford to pay for people, right? And usually in the beginning, first year, I'm talking.
Yeah, I did everything. First year, I did everything. I taught everything. I collected payments. I did everything. I think it was halfway through year one where I hired a preschool teacher because it was becoming too much.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that was so eye-opening for me was, like, I was young 20s, so I wanted to teach the teenagers, and I wanted to choreograph, and, you know, I had a different mindset of what teaching was. Now when I'm hiring teachers, I look for somebody who can teach everything. Now, you're not going to get me to teach a hip hop class. It's never going to happen. You know that, like, it's not going to happen. But if I needed to cover a 6 to 8 year old hip hop class, like I could do that. I know how to speak to children. I know how to run a class. So being as well versed in all different genres of dance with all different ages is so important, because your teacher voice for the babies is going to be so different than the 15-year-olds, or the 8-year-olds when you need to get their attention because they aren't paying attention. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, really invest in good staff.
And now let's talk about that. Because I've seen on some of the dance website pages, some teachers don't feel valued at their studio. But I think that it's two things. Not parents, teachers need to remember how much money goes into, like, people forget, and this also goes to parents. They forget that the studio owner is paying for the rights to the music. They're paying for insurance. Like, it's not that your kid is paying however much a month and now the studio is just
All of a sudden,
pocketing it
like
all.
taking in all the money. Yeah, no, the lights, the heat, the taxes, the rent, the water, the
Insurance has got
gas.
to be insane.
Yeah, and then like I don't know about my town. Everybody's states or towns are different, but like every year they send me a bill for like merch that I have stored in my closet. Like I have to pay a tax on that, and then the desks that are in the office, like I have to pay a tax on that. But I already paid for it when I purchased it. But like so, it's a lot. But if you're smart about it, I mean, you just have to be careful, and just have a really good CPA, but that's the business side of it. As far as the staffing goes, and teachers not feeling valued.
Like, what do
Um,
you think? One of the things is, like, should studio teachers be paid if they're going to a competition? And then this is, to me, it depends on how much my personal opinion, it depends on how much you get paid during the week. Like is it already, are you getting more hourly? And that's, you just, maybe the studio owner needs to communicate that to you, that your hourly is more so that you don't get paid if you go, or it just depends.
well, the money has to come from somewhere. So if we're speaking financially, then I know some studio owners that charge a company fee at the beginning of the year to be able to pay for the staff to be present at the competitions. For me, like staff, their teaching hours, they're going to get a different rate than if we have a staff meeting. But I'm still using you as, you're still part of the team. So I pay my staff for all of our staff meetings. This year, they have to clean in between all the classes and at the end of the night. I didn't hire them to be um, cleaning staff, but it's something that we all have to do, but I do pay them for their time. So they should feel valued. I don't have a lot of money. Nobody has a lot of money this year. Like we're relying on being smart business people, and hopefully our state's helping us through PPP loans, and just trying to get out of the mess that COVID caused for everybody. So this year is a different year, with different answers than it would have been 2 years ago. But as far as the competition weekends go, if you require your staff to be there, then yes, you probably should um, pay for them to be working. If you don't require it and they want to come, then maybe you can do something nice for them and make sure that you pay for their hotel room or dinner or something like that. I think there's a fine balance to making sure everybody feels valued, both financially and emotionally.
And also, as a teacher, if you're younger, and you're just getting into the teaching world,
Yeah.
communication, like, tell you, the owner is not going to know that you need this if you don't tell them.
Right. And I think that, I've had alumni that I'm super proud of that have come back to teach for me, and some have worked out and some haven't, because there's a shift of what they think that they deserve
Hmm.
financially. And it's like, well, you just graduated college, so I'm here to help you learn how to become a really well versed teacher.
Hmm.
Um, but this is your starting rate, and you're not going to get paid as much as my teacher who's been teaching for 30 years. Like it's not in the cards for you. So,
Do you
I mean,
think that
I
that's
see.
also a social media thing? Because I hear kids who just want to grow up to be convention teachers because they kind of do make the most money right now, I
Yeah.
think.
But even with the conventions, I mean, I grew up loving conventions. Like,
Mhm.
uh, NYCDA was like a huge one.
It
Just
still is.
looking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tremaine, um, West Coast. You
Dance
know,
Caravan if you want to go back.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. I just loved it. But some of those teachers are still on circuit, and
Mhm.
like those are the teachers that you want to take from. And not that the new teachers are not, because they have such a creative um, side to them that you can learn something from them. But I think that even learning how to speak to a huge ballroom of kids, because that little doe-eyed girl or boy in the back who may not be the best dancer, they matter just as much as Susie Sparkles, who, you know, is well versed in the combo and is being pulled up on stage. So I think conventions are amazing. I think they're a fantastic opportunity for the kids to learn from different people. But um, I think they have to realize that it takes a lot of time to have that status to be able to be up on that stage. And then once they do, even if they are younger, to kind of like pull down the reins and make sure that you're aware of your tone and how you're speaking to these kids. It's not an audition. It's not a show. That, you know, you're talking to children. So
Yeah, I was having this conversation with somebody a couple weeks ago about how, as an adult taking dance classes, I live in Los Angeles, so I'm fortunate enough that there's a lot of drop in places. And when I do take, I don't like taking from people who are just shouting at me because I don't want to be a dancer. I'm 38. Like, I just,
let's go dance because I love it.
yeah,
And
I'm here to exercise and have a good time. And I remember as a teen, that's how I felt though. Like I used to be in the back of conventions always. I never tried to push my way to the front. And when I was really little, I did because my family was like, get up there. But like as I became older, I would stay in the back because there's more space. Like you can actually dance, you know? And it was like you could still be seen by the person. They, if anything, they can see further back than the person who's right against them on the stage. But I also get like when you're 8, you want to be right up there because you
right.
idolize these people. They're famous. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, that's so and so who I saw on MTV. Ah, MTV. That's not real anymore. Uh, like whatever. And
But it's so endearing. Like I hope that the convention teachers recognize that, you know, because some walk around like they are Jesus, you know, and
mhm.
like cannot pay little Susie the time of day.
What do you
But
think of
those
TikTok?
okay.
For those of you who are not watching the video, Lauren just slumped and got real quiet in her chair.
I'm just so old. Okay, so I appreciate the puppy videos. I appreciate the cooking
I'm talking
and
dance
like
specific.
oh, okay. I thought you were talking like specific
What do you
TikTok. I'm
guys?
like, I don't okay, so for a dance, I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. I don't have TikTok, so I don't see it. I see what other people send me. I have seen like I'm so off put by it because the uncensored mature content that these little kids are being exposed to and trying to copy is, and I'm not a prude, but like it is not okay. Um,
Yeah, the age wise, it's not. Yeah, you see little kids doing some inappropriate things.
yeah,
But then also from a business angle, I could see like almost starting a TikTok class that's 30 minutes where the kids come in and they learn one of the popular videos so
yeah.
that,
There's
you know, for a rec class, I'm not talking for like people who want to be dancers, but like every week you learn a different TikTok popular dance. I could see that. But within that same sentence, some of those dances you couldn't do,
right,
depending
right,
on the
yeah.
age of the class.
I think everything is just in like whose hands is it in. So like my studio has a TikTok, but I didn't start it. We started it over. We started it over COVID because one of my teachers thought it would be fun, and they were doing, you know, TikTok challenges and little combos and stuff like that. I don't think we've kept up with it because it's a lot to manage social media for a business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to have a different post every day and content and this and that and keep it exciting. But I do think that with anything, if it's done the right way, it can be very successful. So yeah, I'm not fully opposed to it, but I would have to hire like
Someone to
somebody
run it.
young. Yeah, somebody young and fun, because I am not she.
And what would you do, like, if like, do you let kids videotape their classes to post online? Like, what do you do with that whole? Because I feel like that's where the world is now for kids.
Yeah. Um, no, no cameras are brought into my classrooms
Okay.
by the kids. Because we have an hour and a half to get so much done,
Hmm.
you know. But if the kids are on fire that night and having like a really great class, or we're learning something new, depending upon the ages, I'll pull out my phone and record them in a combo. We're going across the floor because again, you want content for social media, but um, I I I'm just trying to find a really good balance because
It's hard.
I feel like that's everybody's dependent upon that video that starts at the floor and then it pans up to the face and then it scales back and then we do a combo and then it's like logo and scene, you know. So like I don't want that for my kids.
I'm
I want
always
them to
waiting
be
for a
like,
competition to do that. I don't know why a competition doesn't have a videographer who does that. I feel like they would sell so many more videos if they did that.
probably,
Mhm.
probably,
Like if
yeah.
they had like an Instagram. I don't know what that would be. Like,
Yeah. I mean, comps are super creative with their online marketing.
and it's
Uh,
good for kids to have the footage when they're older to use for
yeah,
their reel when they're going into dance, because you do need to have a reel. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have some footage of you. It's just a.
a balance. Like
Mhm,
it can't be. I feel like the world's just so extreme. Do you know
mhm,
what I mean? Like find a good balance and you're good to go.
mhm.
So
It's because there's so many famous little dancers on Instagram and their parents want their kid to make money, because a lot of kids make money on social media. You know,
amazing.
there's that kid who makes millions a year just opening presents. What a life. I would love to be like, here, Kim, here's another present. Okay.
For their brand. Anybody?
Yeah. Anybody who's listening, if you want to just send me presents and I'll open them, I'm in. Uh, okay. So I have questions that I ask everybody. 5 questions.
Okay.
Here they are. Um, what is your favorite singer to choreograph to or dance to right now? And this obviously always changes, but right now.
Um, Joseph Banks.
Cool.
He's like his voice is so
And
delicious.
what type of class I should specify?
That is my contemporary.
Cool.
Yeah, technique, going across the floor, improv classes. Yeah,
I think
he's pretty incredible.
no one has ever said the same singer yet, which I love because,
Hold on.
yeah, look in your phone while
I,
no one has ever said the same singer yet. So I think it's great for people to uh, open up their repertoire at a studio to like hear all the other singers.
listen, you're gonna kick me off your podcast, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Unless you say
Okay.
Justin Timberlake, in which case I'll be like, yeah, no one has said him yet. I'm very sad about it.
I don't know when I opened my studio, and then I called him Joseph Banks. It's Jacob Banks.
So
Aren't
Jacob
you
Banks.
happy you invited me today, guys? Mom life's hard.
How old is your child?
20 months. So like
So
one and
you're
a
in the
half. She's
thick of
gonna
it.
be
Yeah,
in
you're in the run
August.
around, and both you and your husband own businesses, so you guys are super busy.
Yeah, just a little lack of sleep. So I apologize for my brain, guys, but yeah,
No, it's all
Jacob Banks. The
Jacob,
mom, so
not
good.
Jason Mraz.
Oh, remember? I love. You want to know what? I love Jason's voice. He hasn't. I don't know if he's come out with something, but like Kim and I would literally fangirl go to all of his concerts in wherever. We would go everywhere.
Yeah,
How
we
many
went to
concerts?
all of his concerts that we could get to, and we both lived on different coasts, and so we
Yeah,
went to a good amount, and we would just dance in the aisles.
I want to
Uh,
say at least 8 to 10.
it was a lot of fun. I would do that again.
Yeah.
My stamina wouldn't be as good as it was. Like, I'd be like one song, like I'm gonna sit the next one out.
Yeah.
So, no.
I'm gonna nap on your shoulder for this one. I'll be right back.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
10 o'clock. Do you want to go? Okay, next question. What is your favorite music video of all time? Or like movie or favorite dance? Because I just realized some generations were like, I haven't seen a music video.
Growing up, I was a huge Paula. I still am a huge Paula Abdul fan. So give me anything Paula and give me anything Janet,
Okay.
and I'll do the choreography for you. Not right now, too much pressure, but yes.
Is
So
there
anything.
one that you remember of them that like one of them sticks out the most?
Hmm, God, Rhythm Nation.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in. Okay, favorite after food for after a show or a dance competition or recital? Like, what's your go-to after you've just had a huge show? Time to.
Okay. So after comp, literally anything that's open.
That's fair.
Remember those days? I don't know how it's gonna work this year, but like whatever's open. I don't know. I love apps. Like, give me all the apps. Give me like a little bit of mozzarella sticks. Give me a little bit of nachos with like some adult cocktails, and that would be
That sounds
really,
good.
yeah.
I will say for how competitions are now, from my understanding, a lot of them are block schedule. And so the positive is that you as a studio owner are only there for like 4 hours or 3 hours or less. The negative is that it's your kid on stage every 5 seconds. So you're constantly backstage talking to the next kid. And then the other negative is that it makes kids' stamina really shine. So, like, if you have a kid and you want them to win, like they're your normal first place top 10 overall, I would recommend, if you are allowed, different competitions are different, to help in the where that kid goes. I would say put them in the first 10 to 20 dances if you have more than that many as a studio owner, because they will be worked by the end of it.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day on Thursday. We have 2 sessions with them just for my studio because that's how we have a
How
lot of.
many, what's your rough estimate of how big is your competition team,
Oh, this
acts wise?
year we're around 115.
And so that's yeah, that's a ton. So yeah, that totally makes sense why you would break it up.
Yeah, so we have 2 sessions and capacity. Like every state's different with the whole COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
So protocols, we can only have like a certain amount in the building at once. So we can't have my entire company there at once. So we do session 1, session 2. I
That's
judged
such a
like,
great, successful studio.
huh?
115 acts is a very successful studio.
Yeah, I mean, quality over quantity,
But that's
and I'm yeah, I'm really excited.
it's
I
gonna
just
be.
my babies, yeah.
And I will say that judging, which you just said you have judged block schedule yet.
A couple weeks ago, just like keeping track of, rightfully so, who's placing overalls,
Mm-hmm.
and because you just see one studio at a time. But
And every
those
system
season
is different for judging as well, for parents who are listening, on like how do they keep it block schedule, how do they keep it organized. Some systems at the judging competitions have it where the judge can see all the scores of everyone in that category, so they can remember who's in first right now, so they know where to. Other ones they have to write it all down, so it's always constantly different. And then another thing about block scheduling, oh, what was I going to say? Totally forgot. Well, it'll happen. It'll come back to me. I forgot. Oh, you can see if the studio's choreography is the same the whole time through,
Oh, that's true.
because it's
Yeah.
just you. So like every studio has a style, and
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you find that the same combination is happening, like slap your thigh, step, turn, fouette turns into a leap to the floor, hitch kick,
Yeah.
which I wish I saw pod berets. Those are my jam. And if you did that in every dance, but just to a different song, it becomes more apparent versus before, when there's other studios in between. No matter how clean your studio is,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
assume scoring wise that it could potentially, as a judge,
Yeah.
go. Hopefully, it doesn't go down because the judge shouldn't. They should know better not to. But like them being like, because you are getting scored from choreography standpoint, it starts to make them see that it's always the same.
Yeah. 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 That's what I tell my kids. I mean, again, it goes back to the faculty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't teach the hip hop. I don't teach. I can teach tap, but I don't teach the tap. Like everybody is training with somebody different, so all of our stuff is so different.
Which is great. And also, even if it is the same, I don't think that judges should. They could say something in a nice way, but I don't think that they take off scores for that, because everyone understands that it's a pandemic. Just like I know some people were asking, if my kid wears a mask, are they going to lose? No, 100% no. Even if some studios, it's like a big, like, do all my kids wear a mask? Some studios only are, some kids are wearing a mask because it's a personal choice for their parents. And like, none of that will affect the scores. Everyone just wants your kid to dance again because everyone loves it. We're all here for that. And then also, you know, whatever makes you feel safe, we want everyone to be safe.
Yeah.
You know, in the whole dance community, I don't think anyone doesn't want them to be safe. Okay, back to my 5 questions because I got off on such a tangent.
Talk to you forever.
Lauren, I totally could talk to you forever. Okay, most difficult trick you ever had to learn in your lifetime? Like, what was one of the hardest things that you had to like try to figure out? I have so many.
I mean, for me, it was tumbling because I didn't have tumbling growing up. Like acro wasn't a thing at my studio,
Mm-hmm.
but I started a little too late, obviously, because like once I started doing the conventions and started like traveling and all of that stuff, I saw these dancers tumbling. I was like, I want to do that. But with me, my dad was like, you do one thing and you do it well. So I couldn't take gymnastics, you know? So learning how to tumble was really hard. So is there a specific trick? Lauren was never doing fulls. I promise you that. But like tucks and aerials, like that was tough for me because I started later. You know, I didn't understand that push. So
Yeah, I would say back handspring for me.
yeah, the fear of going backwards is scary,
Just no
especially when you
arm
get
muscle.
older.
Just no arm muscle. Like
The head goes back.
100%. Okay, if you had to have another job other than dance,
Hmm.
what would you be?
Not dance related at all.
Can't be. Like, take it out of the entertainment business.
Okay, I'd probably be a hairdresser.
Yes. I will say, everyone who's listening, Lauren and I have been friends for so long. She's the first person to tell me that I needed a blow dryer because I didn't own one in my 20s. And she was like, what are you doing? 'Cause I'm still terrible at it.
No, your hair looks so good. I put dry shampoo in my hair right now. I was like, good luck to me. But you look all
This
like
is 3 days old.
curled. Yeah.
This is 3 days old. I haven't been to a hairdresser in almost a year because of COVID. Because we have all these rules, and I live in California, and when you travel, you have to quarantine for 10 days. So basically, I'm always quarantining. Like,
Yeah. Things are opening up here a little bit. If I couldn't get
and they're open here. You can get your hair done here now. It's just that I travel. And so because of that, until I get all the shots or whatever. Cool. Is there anything that you think, let's do advice for, I feel like you have so much knowledge in all of the genres, which is amazing. Let's do 3 categories. What advice, and I'll give them all to you so you can pick and choose which order you want to do. What advice would you give somebody who owns a studio, who wants to be more successful with their studio in, I don't know how long they've had it, whatever, general. What advice would you give a kid who just wants to take dance class and get better? And then what advice would you give someone who wants to become a professional dancer? Because you've trained all of these things. Like those of you who are listening, like she has some kids who are literally on Broadway, have been, like I'll watch SNL and I'll be like, oh my God, that's Homegirl. So she has some kids that have made it. And by some, I mean a ton.
Oh, thank you. For all of that, first and foremost, define what your success is.
Okay.
Like personally to you, what is your success? What do you want to accomplish? What's going to make you happy? Not what is going to get your name out there, get your recognition. Like what is going to make you, whatever your name is, happy in life.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so yeah, so the success of the studio, know what kind of brand, know what kind of studio you want to be, and stick to your gut.
When you say that, do you mean like be a competitive studio, be a rec studio, be a hip hop studio, be a ballet studio? Like that's your.
There are no wrong answers. Do what you do and do it well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and never stop learning and never stop being humble and thankful to the people around you, because there are so many people out there with a ton of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
that can inspire you no matter how long you've been in business for. So that's that. The second question was the kid who just wants to take dance class to get better.
Mm-hmm. They're my favorite.
They really are, because it's just so refreshing. You know, like you're doing what you love. You have people in you should have people in your corner cheering you on and like being excited when you make those small little accomplishments. And you don't have to have the recognition and the trophies to be a successful dancer. You know, like fall in love with whatever genre or the art of dance in general, and it's going to completely change your outlook on how you view things and people. And you know, when you watch something on TV, you know, you're going to acknowledge that like there was some dance history that came behind this little SNL skit or whatever the case may be. Like you're going to be so much more fulfilled. So just keep it up and love what you do and don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Mm.
And then the last one was what?
Professional. People who want to be a professional dancer.
Ooh, don't take no for an answer.
Ooh.
Because somebody might not like you, but it's not your time to shine in whatever project that was. But don't let it tear you down. Let it fuel you to work harder. And you never have to prove yourself to anybody. Because again, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody likes me. You know, sometimes it's typecasted as well. And also define your success in your head. Like, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? How are you going to get there without worrying about all the chitter chatter that's happening over here? Like, stay focused.
I
Put your
always
blind.
think like a good goal for people is to be financially stable off of whatever the art is that they want to do. And I think that like that's a great starting goal. And then realizing that you're probably doing it. Like for example, if you are trying to be a professional dancer and you are teaching at a studio and that is the only job you have is teaching at a studio and doing dance jobs on the side as well. Congratulations, you are paying yourself by being a dancer. Like I
Right.
think people
Right.
forget that like cuz it's not just being on Dancing with the Stars full time. Like you are
Right.
still being a dancer and being a teacher is all of that. Like
Right. And say yes. Like the local, like Hershey Park or whatever. Like, okay, that's a first job. Like you're going to meet people and then you're going to get exposure and you're going to get knowledge to then all of a sudden, okay, now you're doing Disney and then you're doing cruise ships and then who knows where it's going to go, you know? So don't bookend yourself to be like, no, I just want to be in a Beyonce video and that's it. That's the end goal. Okay, cool. But like, how are you going to survive in between now and then, you know, whatever
also,
the
yeah,
case may be.
Beyonce changes up her music genre, and you have to be able to tumble
Or
the whole
yeah,
time, or
or yeah,
yeah, exactly. Putting yourself in such a small pocket is really hard.
yeah.
Where is your studio? Because we did not get to that. And what is it called?
So it's called Elite Academy of Dance, and we are in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. So we are like the studio specifically is like 45 minutes outside of Boston.
And then, how many rooms does your studio have?
We have 4 dance rooms.
Cool.
Um, 4 dance rooms, couple offices, not enough storage. Wish I had more. And yeah, hopefully one day I can buy my own building, but
That is a
you know,
great goal to have as a studio owner. What classes do you offer?
everything. I would, well, I guess I would like to say everything, but a lot. We have recreational so I started a kids club this year,
Mm-hmm.
which is like for babies. So it's like mom talk classes, and those are awesome. And that goes up to about 2 years old, and then they start recreational program.
Mm-hmm.
And we have classes in all of your genres of dance, ballet, tap, jazz, modern, like true modern. Um, Tumbling. We're a big acro studio. And then we also have company, ballet point, lyrical contemporary, jazz, tap, hip hop. Am I missing anything?
I don't know. Are your kids only allowed to do point if they're on team, or can you be a recreational dancer who takes as many classes as necessary to get there?
If they typically it's only the company
Mm-hmm.
just because they're the ones training in 2 to 3 ballet classes a week and are strong enough and strong enough to
Mhm.
go on to point. Most of my Rex teenagers, they'll either, if they want to, they start to transition to company, or they're just doing it because it's, fun, and they just want to dance like one day a week. So you're not necessarily technically going to be strong enough to go up onto point if you're only training once a week in a tap class.
Yeah. And then if I wanted to join your studio, you're not online, right? Like it's not like a Zoom class once a week. Or are you like if I lived in another country, could I take from your studio?
That is such a great question. No.
That's okay.
Um,
Everyone's different.
I know it's hard. It's been hard to balance. We
It's a
did
whole
Zoom.
nother business.
It is a whole nother business. We did Zoom over COVID,
Mhm.
and like if we had to close because of any COVID exposures or anything like that, we like reverted back to online. But we do not offer.
But if I'm a parent or student who lives relatively nearby, how do I get in contact with you if I want to take from your studio? What do I do?
Yeah, we are on social media, so that's obviously like the first go-to because people want to check it out. So we are Elite at Elite Dance on social media,
Just
Instagram,
at
and
Elite Dance?
I'm gonna look it up because you know how many times I've like
That's fair. Yeah, cuz I
messed.
was like that's like if you got that amazing. If there's no underscore or if it
Oh,
doesn't say the
I know.
town.
See, at Elite Academy of Dance on Instagram.
Okay. At Elite Academy of Dance. She's showing me the Insta shame. I mean, in Instagram. I always call it instant shame. Uh,
And then on Facebook, I think Facebook is where we got the Elite Dance.
and then
Yeah.
also, you have a website.
EliteDance-ma.com. So dash and then MA because we're in
And
Massachusetts.com.
you could probably Google it on Google Maps if you're nearby and you want to take a class. Do you teach adult classes there at all if adults wanted to take?
So this summer we're going to.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I have two teachers who are going to be teaching like the transitional. I just got out of dance studio world and I'm going to do college dance team. So
Mm-hmm.
we have those type of adult classes that are coming up, and then we're trying to get another adult session started. It really is so based upon what time of year it is. Christmas, forget about it. Like that's a super busy season. But summer, we're going to open it up and see if we have any adult friends that want to come and take classes with us.
And those adults, do they have to like if it's somebody who's like in their 40s and never danced, could they, or it's specifically for people who took dance already?
We typically open it up and see who is coming and then who they're bringing with them, and we'll base the level off of like
So
who
if you're
is
just a mom who just wants to exercise, you could still
yeah,
join. Yes. Every
dance for everybody.
It should be. It should be.
Yeah.
Lauren, it's so good to see you.
I miss
And
you.
amazing. Thank you for this conversation. And
For hours.
I
Well,
know
there's talk for hours, but I could talk to you for hours.
we could stay up and make bracelets. That's what we used to do, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for having me. Sending love to everybody. Stay safe.